You have to do what running backs naturally do right there, but we have to be able to create our own yards. That is very much so important. That's the expectation that I put on those guys, all right, being great protectors of both football, quarterback, and we have to be able to create our own yards.
Welcome into From the 513, having a conversation today with the running back coach at the University of Cincinnati, Sean Dawkins. Coach, let's start with this. We know about UC football. Mm-hmm. The city of Cincinnati as a whole, how are you enjoying your time in this city?
I'm enjoying myself a lot. It's taking some time, obviously. I got here 2 days before spring practice, so when I first got here, it was a lot of work, mainly just getting caught up, trying to learn the expectations of my job and with new people and a new offense as well. So when I first got here, a lot of it had to do with learning. And even once the summer rolled around, I still wasn't able to kind of get away and vacation because I was still within the moving process. Because getting here 2 days before spring, obviously moving is not involved in that. It's just learning the ball and the people. So now that I'm a lot more settled in, man, the city's been great. Love the food here, love the people. And the biggest thing to me is the way everyone loves sports here. Not obviously the Bengals, the Reds, but the Bearcats as well. So just really embracing all of that and loving how the city loves, all the sports, including the soccer as well. Don't want to forget about those guys, man. It's just really, really, really been good.
What stood out about Cincinnati when you were going through the process of, okay, this is where I want to be? What stood out about why you wanted to be here?
Being somewhere that matters, to where it matters more so to the fan base. That's always a good thing. And to me, I've been doing this 18 years now, so I've got an opportunity to see a lot of Cincinnati football. And one thing about it, this place has always won games, and they've not only won games, they've always won championships. So I knew obviously coming here, man, football would matter. Football matters in the state of Ohio, but it also means a lot here in the city of Cincinnati. So that had a lot to do with it right there.
When you look at getting into coaching, you mentioned how long you've been doing it. Did you always know that from a playing standpoint, that's what you wanted to do next?
No, I did not. I did not. And basically it came down to once I graduated, I had been obviously taking some interviews and doing some things. And I just kind of really came to the realization that, I'm not really a corporate guy. And, me sitting in a cubicle in an office probably wasn't the best thing for me. And I'm thankful for a lot of the people that's really been in my life. And a lot of people that's been in my life have been football coaches, honestly. My mother, she worked a lot growing up, my dad as well. So I had to rely on a lot of coaches, especially just through transportation, things like that. And I'm really thankful, man, and really very much so appreciative for all the men that's been involved in my life. And again, a lot of them have been coaches. So I thought about it, and I was talking to myself one day, and I was just like, man, Sean, football has been your life, and it's been so good to you. Why not stick with it? And I knew I wasn't going to the next level as an NFL guy. So I started trying to come up with ways that I could, be around. And obviously coaching was the biggest one.
Schemes obviously change, players change, but from a philosophy standpoint, is there something that has stayed with you from the time you played that you still bring into your coaching today?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is go hard, and that's kind of really simple, but it's obviously going hard at everything that we do. And obviously I break that down, but the biggest thing is the effort piece. And that's what I mean by going hard. Obviously, man, as a player right there, I define that for those guys. Obviously from a preparation standpoint, making sure those guys understand that and being able to go hard at that. Relationships as well. You know what I mean? I try to go hard at the relationships with these guys because, obviously, man, when a player knows that you care beyond football, man, they'll do anything for you. So, that's one thing that I try to go hard at, these relationships, making sure obviously those guys understand that I'm here for them in any capacity. And I try not to obviously put myself on a pedestal, more so I try to be transparent with these guys and let these guys understand and know, hey, I was a young college football player too. And I don't hide that in our conversations, because I want these guys to be comfortable with me and comfortable with me that they can speak to me about anything. So again, just going hard at those relationships, and again, all the football piece, making sure those guys understand the expectations of what we are looking for at the running back position. So I want my guys, the biggest thing, go hard, to give me the effort that is necessary and needed, obviously, for us to be great.
When I think about the running back position at UC, I think of guys that I watched when I was growing up, and then guys I had a chance to play with all the way up until Corey Kiner last year, and now Evan Pryor coming in this year.
That's right.
How much are you relying on the running back history that you see when you're meeting with recruits and their families?
A lot, because I bring those names up and I bring those guys up, and our running back room right now reflects that throughout the pictures. It also has those guys' stats throughout the years. And one thing that's been evident to me, prior to knowing the history of the running backs here in the depth I know it now, obviously there's been a lot of really good running backs here. And obviously we have to keep that going, especially with who we are, what we do as an offense. We want to establish the run. So that's very important that obviously those guys understand that a lot of it starts with us, and having that responsibility, understanding that responsibility, and understand it's going to take a lot of hard work right there to make sure we're doing our part to get that done.
In your running back room, you've had homegrown guys, you've had transfers, had high school freshmen that are coming in. How important is culture when you talk about not only your room, but from a team standpoint as well?
Absolutely. Culture is everything, honestly, and especially nowadays with the transfer portal. A lot of teams, and fortunately, we're not necessarily in that situation. I think the retention this year is one thing that really helps us out, and I hope plays into our favor. But getting new guys, right, whether it's 20, 30, 40 new guys and gelling those guys, and that's where the culture piece comes in. So the retention, I think, helps our culture, all right, because we have a lot of guys already that understands our culture, knows the expectation, and those are the guys that are also pushing it as well. And that's very important right there, that your players are defending the culture, and that's the best thing about our situation. I think we have enough retention there to where a lot of the players like Dante Corleone, Brandon Sorsby, those guys right there, the leadership, the guys that are the leaders of this team are really pushing the culture because they understand the culture. They've been in it for years now. But the culture piece is everything.
When you look at day one and you're in that meeting room and you're talking to your guys, what are those expectations? What are those pillars that you're putting in place from an expectation standpoint on the first day?
Absolutely. Well, biggest thing, I like to break down pretty much the job description, and obviously not getting tackled by the first person is one of the deals right there. We have to be a rolling ball of butcher knives. We have to be a lead in the run game right there. We have to challenge the defenders and break those tackles. Corey Connor obviously was really good at that. He was the second in the country last year in forced tackles, missed. So obviously that's something he was great at it, but that's something that's also talked about and preached about in that room.
When you watch a player on film, or you turn on their tape, or you watch your own players, what are some of the attributes that you look for that will translate and allow that player to succeed in this system?
Absolutely. So that's one thing we do, and I like to hear from those guys, is because I want to get them involved as well. I like to know who their favorite college player were, who their favorite NFL player was, and what we'll do, we'll sit there and watch highlights because it's all on YouTube. And I like to bring guys from my past and my generation. Barry Sanders was my favorite running back growing up. And, I like to show those guys highlight LaDainian Thomas and all those guys, man, were really good players. And by watching them, there's a lot of, reverse engineering that can go on because these guys were obviously great. And what I like to show those guys is how these guys were great at creating their own yards, because to me, again, that's the key, right? Yes, we have to be great protectors of the football and the quarterback, and all those guys were, but what made them who they are is their ability to be able to win on defenders in space, their ability to create those tough yards, their ability to keep the chains moving, those things right there. So I want to obviously show those guys that, because that's also what I'm preaching, but showing those guys how people are winning, because that's very important right there as well.
You mentioned making the first guy miss. In the running game, it's always a numbers game.
That's right.
How much does it help to have a dual threat quarterback who also is a threat to run, a tight end in the likes of Joe Royer, and now these new weapons on the outside?
That's right.
Does that bode well to get more favorable boxes and allow you to succeed from a running back standpoint?
Absolutely. I definitely feel this season is going to be a lot harder to load that box up because you do have to respect, like who you mentioned, Joe Royer, tight end. You do have to respect the two receivers out wide. We're a lot faster, a lot more explosive out there. So it's going to be we're going to get a lot more favorable boxes, and we got to make sure we're doing our part in the backfield to take advantage of that.
How do you handle the player or the family members that believe their student athlete should be starting day one? How do you have those conversations in today's world?
That's right.
Where the portal is so prevalent?
Absolutely. Well, the biggest thing is, man, it's just being transparent. Those are obviously hard conversations. It's not easy for the player or the coach, but those conversations have to be had. And there has to be complete transparency. And the biggest thing is, you have to have concrete evidence a lot of the times. We make cut-ups and we keep all of that information because at some point those conversations are going to be had. And I honestly much rather those guys feel that way than not. I want all the guys to feel like, they should be starting, but it's also my job right there too, to make it make sense, to understand, hey, why the depth chart is what it is. And, again, just being able to have those conversations, being transparent again, and having concrete evidence to support obviously what you're saying.
Evan Pryor had 4 touchdowns of 55 yards or more last year, 7.5 yards per carry. He comes back. We know the explosiveness. Where do you want to see his game go, and talk about the depth behind him as well?
Absolutely, man. So Evan, he's done a great job. And the biggest thing about Evan, man, he's done a really good job of basically doing all the things we asked him to do. Okay. And what I mean by that is, so after the season right there, obviously, man, wanted to congratulate him on what he was able to accomplish. Okay. Because he had a really good season, especially as a number 2. But what we want to challenge him with, okay, now you're coming into a different role. Okay. You're coming into a role of being the number 1 guy. All right. So with that, the expectation changes. And the biggest thing I wanted Evan to do, I wanted Evan to push. Evan is really, really talented. But I wanted to make sure that he takes his game to the next level. And the only way he does that is by pushing himself and continuing to challenge himself. And sometimes because he is so talented, there's been times, especially in the past, when I first got here, that, hey, he, might take the easy route or let up, whatever the situation may be. And he's been challenged to do, obviously, man, to continue to push himself. And he's done a great job of that. He's been challenged to change his body. He's done a great job of that. He's a 200-pound running back right now. And he played at that weight all throughout spring, did a really good job of maintaining that weight. This past year, Evan played at about 185. So that's pretty significant right there in his change. So and there's other things, leadership as well, right? Hey, taking that step up, you need to be more vocal, okay? But before you can obviously be more vocal, you also have to be that guy. You have to be the example first. And I think he's done a great job of making sure he's the example, working harder, all right? He's now working harder than he's ever have in his career, and he will tell you that. So that's one thing I'm so proud about Evan, man. He's really answered, he's really answered the bell, especially on everything that we've asked him to do in regards of changing his body, continue to be trying to push himself to be the best player that he can be. So very, very thankful for Evan for that.
When you think about the offense unlocking a whole nother level, running game is obviously a big part of that. Yes. How much are you asking your guys from a pass catching standpoint and a pass protection standpoint? How important are those aspects if you want to unlock the highest levels to this offense?
Absolutely. Well, to me, that's a part of it, man. That's the job of a running back. We have to be great in all those things. We obviously have to protect the quarterback. We have to be obviously really good at running the football, but if you're trying to be an elite back and you're trying to separate yourself, you have to be a good pass catcher out of the backfield. If you look at the NFL right now, the main guys, everybody likes to talk about Saquon Barkley's 2,000 yards rushing. That's great, but he also had about 600-700 yards receiving as well. Okay, and anytime you can put together 2,700 yards from scrimmage, that's elite. And even Evan, right? Evan, yes, he had about 450 yards rushing, but he also had about 250 yards receiving as well. That's 700 yards from scrimmage right there from a number 2 back. That's a lot of yards. Okay. So, that's very important. Those are things obviously that we preach right there and trying to get the most out of that position because again, we have guys back there that are capable. Evan's not the only one. Obviously he's the main one that obviously did it last season, but Manny Covey showed up in some games, Texas Tech, where he was able to make some plays, especially from a receiving standpoint. He caught a long screen right there. He caught 2 touchdown passes. Both of them were passes. So, that's definitely things that we look at, especially when we're game playing, whether you're a man team and just obviously just looking at the linebackers and trying to see how we match up. Can we create some situation right there, some matchup opportunities right there where we can take advantage of at the linebacker position. So we're always looking into that, especially from a game planning standpoint, and we have the guys to be able to do it. So that's definitely something we're always trying to maximize each game.
The indoor practice facility, obviously it's a weapon from a recruiting standpoint. It also helps the team standpoint. What are you just expecting from a reaction standpoint when people start to get in there and get to see what this facility is? Well,
I'm pretty sure it'll be much like mine. I haven't been in there yet, and I've been trying to save myself from it because I want to see the final product. I'm not the best visionary, so I want to see the final product. But it's definitely going to be a game changer, and it's definitely going to be a lot of wows. Because listening to those guys, they definitely thought of everything, and they had a kind of a futuristic plan to it because everything that's over there is going to still be good 20 years from now, and that's kind of your thought process and what you want when you're trying to when you're investing that much money into a athletic building. So
finally, we've talked about the history here from the running back positions,
right.
running back coaches as well. As you sit in this chair today, just your thought of being a part now of a great legacy at running back at the University of Cincinnati, from coaching running backs. What's it mean to you to be coaching running backs at UC?
Man, it's a big honor and, a big responsibility as well. And I'm thankful for both. I'm definitely familiar with the history, and I've educated myself beyond my initial knowledge getting here. And, all of that just helps me take more pride in this opportunity, in this situation.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Sir.